Thanks to Fiverr for supporting the Productivity Show. It's so easy to find freelance talent for your business or product. Don't waste any more time. Get 10% off the service you deserve by going to fiverr.com and use code TPS. Thanks also to Mint Mobile for supporting the Productivity Show. Every Mint Mobile plan comes with unlimited nationwide talk and text. To get your wireless plan for just $15 a month and get the phone shipped to your door for free, go to mintmobile.com/TPS. We'd also like to thank Fundrise for supporting the Productivity Show. Start building your better portfolio today. Get started at fundrise.com/TPS to have your first 90 days of advisory fees waived. Welcome to the Productivity Show, a podcast by Asian Efficiency to help you maximize your productivity so you can get the important things done without having to sacrifice your health, family, and things that matter to you. We've helped tens of thousands of people save time, be happier, and become more productive. Today, I'm joined by Chris Reynolds, the founder of the Business Method podcast and Get Shit Done Live. Chris's businesses and events have helped entrepreneurs optimize their productivity to reach their peak performance consistently and scale their businesses rapidly using research-driven techniques. Chris has been a location-independent entrepreneur for 11 years now, living in multiple countries and traveling the world during that time. In this episode, we talk about how to optimize your brain for focus, what high performers have in common, Chris's workflows, and his personal productivity system for how he gets things done. I know you're going to love today's episode, and if you want to geek out on some of the things we do and have in common in terms of how we get stuff done, you definitely want to check out this episode here today. You can find links to everything that we share in the show notes by going to theproductivityshow.com/316. And now, on with the show. All right, so we are live on another episode of the Productivity Show today. I have my good friend, Chris. How are you doing today?
Fantastic, Tam. Thank you for having me.
I'm excited to geek out with you today about productivity and high performance. It's not oftentimes that we get another guest on the show who is also really into productivity and teaching others how to be more productive and perform at the highest levels. So I'm kind of curious today how you do that and how you teach others and coach others. But before we start diving into all the geekery stuff, one of the things we always like to ask our guests and what we do on the show is share some of our favorite productivity resources as of lately. So in 90 seconds or less, can you share some of your top 3 favorite productivity apps, tools, and resources?
Yes. So good old fashioned Brain FM. I'm sure you know about it, but I've been using that since their beta version when they gave $25 offer for lifetime access. And I've been using it on a weekly basis. And for meditation or for focused music, I think it's one of the best apps that I've found that works really well for me. So I'm a huge fan of Brain FM. And of course, the book Essentialism, I'm sure you've read it. And I think it is just really, it's a great mindset, but some book to learn on what to put in our lives that are absolutely essential. Actually, I was reading your article on Albert Einstein and how he was a minimalist in his life. And I think even more important than being minimal in our life is being essential. And so I think that was really a great book. And you know what? I have to say, this probably doesn't get mentioned as a productivity book, but I think the 4-Hour Workweek is really good when it comes to mindset and practical application for things that you can do to focus on to be more productive. So I'm going to drop that one in there because I think that's a really great book that doesn't get mentioned as a productivity book as often.
Yeah, I love that recommendation. And I completely agree with you. I think that's a great book. And it was actually very inspirational for a lot of people, including myself. And a lot of people that you and I both personally know as well. I'm pretty sure that book jump-started so many businesses and lifestyle entrepreneurs, which is pretty crazy. But Chris, for those who don't know who you are, can you kind of share your story and what you do?
Yeah, you want like the whole story or you want like the 2 minutes?
No, let's dive in the whole story.
Okay, yeah. So I've been a location independent entrepreneur for 9 years yesterday. And so I've been traveling the world but I've also been a remote entrepreneur for a couple of years before that, right? So I'm the guy that I actually did read the 4 Hour Workweek, the book, and then started to apply everything that they talked about. And I read it 4 or 5 times and then listened to the audio probably a dozen times. So I really, really dove into that book. And a year and a half or so, I started building niche websites online. And then after that, about a year and a half, I had bought my one-way ticket to Costa Rica, and I was getting ready to go. So that was April 27th, 2011 when that happened. And went to Costa Rica and continued to build business there and do some contractual work online. And over the past 9 years, lived in a dozen or so countries, traveled to another dozen or so, and just started to kind of apply that 4 Hour Workweek life, grow business, continue to live the lifestyle dream, go after those bucket list items, do some really fun and exciting things. After a couple of years, the travel became less important. The adventures became less important. And I wanted to do things that had more of a purpose. So either some charity work or something revolving around business and conferences and helping entrepreneurs and gathering entrepreneurs together. So after about that 2-year mark, I realized that even though I had this kind of dream life, I was still kind of lonely traveling the world, and I didn't know at the time, but what I was missing, it was like my tribe of people. So I met a lot of cool travelers, but they just weren't like, highly focused entrepreneurs and people that were into personal development. And so I landed in Barcelona, still feeling a little lonely. And I had a roommate come stay with me, and he stayed for a month. And during that month, we were more productive than we were any other month. And what we did is we set goals together, we worked together, we worked out together, we enjoyed the city together. And just seeing him work on a regular basis around the apartment inspired me to work more, and we got a lot more stuff done. And I thought to myself, this was 2014. So I thought to myself, why aren't more people doing this? This is before the fad of like remote travel came up, remote entrepreneurship and travel, or remote year, and those businesses like that. And so I threw up the idea to my network and created a business called the Entrepreneur House, where we could live in different cities together and set goals together and build business together and have a really good time. So I did that for a few years, and it turned out to be a lot of fun. To scale that business was just going to end up being a lot of work that I didn't want to do. I wanted to get to the point where I was doing less trading time for dollars. And I was going to all those entrepreneur houses and running them while I was working there as well. So I decided to take all the productivity stuff that we had learned from these entrepreneur houses. We did like 12 of them or so, and put them onto online resources, podcasting, online courses, one live event every year, and coaching. And so that's kind of been the business model of what's called the business method now. And so we do essentially the same that you do. We help entrepreneurs and help people get more focused and be more productive and get stuff done and go after their goals and help their dreams come true.
That's so funny. I had no idea that's how it got started, because what a lot of people don't know is the name Asian Efficiency actually came from a entrepreneur house kind of setting. We were in a sort of like big house in Miami, and we were all coming together, a few entrepreneurs and people who had like lifestyle businesses. And we said, hey, let's all stay at a house together for a few days and work together, be productive together, kind of learn from each other. And then we'll go out at night for dinner and kind of hang out and stuff. And the next day, me and my friend Aaron, we were up early, we're getting stuff done. And we're, by the time it's noon, we're already done with our work. And everyone else was kind of like waking up late. And they were like, what the hell's going on? Why are you guys done already? That's some Asian efficiency right there. And that's how that name was registered and born. So kind of funny to hear that.
What year was that?
This was 2009 when that happens.
Okay. Yeah. Very cool, man.
So really fun to hear your side of the story. So I'm kind of curious to hear from your perspective then, what did you learn, or what are some of the things you've learned from the entrepreneur houses and all the experiences and the productivity aspects of all of that?
One of the key things that I took out of it is the power of, one, your social network. Obviously, you're going to become more like the 5 people you surround yourself with, but also I guess you could say, Tan, like the synergy that the things that you can achieve when you're in an environment like that. And it sounds like you had similar experiences, and it's probably why you live next door to one of your partners and good friends, Tim, too. Like you guys can hold each other accountable, I'm sure. But when you're in those environments where there's other high performers, you step your game up, which is really cool to see. And our live event that we have every year, we have a live event in Thailand every year. It's 10 days. It's called Get Shit Done Live. And to see what happens to those entrepreneurs during that time is really great. And especially in the last 4 days, because they set one big goal for the entire time that they're there. And it's like they have a deadline, they're working together, they're bouncing ideas off of one another. And having that deadline just like takes their focus, their ability to create to a whole nother level. It's like for many people could relate to like having an exam and cramming the night before, right? Or having a deadline for a big project and just getting together, staying up all night and making it happen. And so that was one of the cool things that I saw from the Entrepreneur House, is that all these people were just taking not only their business, but their lives and the things that really mattered to them to another level, and getting it done much faster. And the ability is there, but sometimes it takes the right environment to make it happen. Probably another reason why we both live in Austin now, right? We know we're around a lot of entrepreneurs all the time. If we're living alone, we can call a person up and go have a dinner with somebody or go to the park. And those environments, I think, are really essential for a lot of people to help take our businesses to the next level.
I think the power of your social network is so underrated and also not often talked about. And people kind of get the idea of, you are like the 5 most people you spend the most time with, right? And we kind of logically get that, and we've heard of it many times, but I don't think enough people are really intentional about that as well.
Right. It kind of sunk in to me when I heard this quote: "Your environment is stronger than your willpower." And it's by Martin Luther King, I believe. And at first, I thought when I heard that quote, well, I've got a strong willpower, I can make anything happen. But then when I started applying that, it really started to make sense. And that's the importance of tribes, the importance of teams, the importance of friends, the importance of family that you're surrounding yourself with, because, you're going to become just like the people that you surround yourself with, whether you want it or not. And the more time you spend around those people, the more habits you're going to pick up from them, the more behaviors you'll pick up from them, the more thoughts you'll start to have that are similar to theirs. And so I think it's great that we have this location independence today, that we can work remotely, because we can pick up and, if we want to go hang around a bunch of people in San Francisco that are doing, working on a new startup or have new ideas, we can do that for a month or 2 or 3, and then come back home to Austin or to wherever that is and get back to quote unquote normal life. And that's the way, those are opportunities. This opportunity that we have to do that is the opportunities only in the past that wealthy people had, the ability to travel and get around other networks, and today we have that ability, and it's so powerful for anybody, especially when it comes to productivity, scaling, and gaining opportunities in their life.
So when it comes to your coaching, when someone comes to you and says, Chris, I want to be more productive, I want to perform at a higher level, what does that engagement kind of look like? What do you do? What do you look at? Like, how do you help people?
Yeah. So essentially we do the same things that any other type of coach would do. You think about your soccer or football or baseball coach when you were a kid, and what were they? They were, quote, kind of an authority figure. They were somebody that could hold you accountable. They were somebody that knew more about the sport than you did. They were there to help you learn. They were there to encourage you as best as possible. Some sports coaches, children's sports coaches, were better than others, I'm sure. And then to teach you. And so just having that coach in sports really helps people be more accountable, show up on time, take themselves to the next level, try a little bit harder. Plus they have that social setting. And so that's the same thing. Like, coaching is a really simple ideal. You hire a coach because you believe that they can help you take your game, whatever it may be, to the next level. And that's what I do. So we set up our coaching in 3-month chunks. And if somebody wants to take their projects or their business to the next level, we get really clear on what that is. We apply the SMART method: specific, measurable, proved upon, realistic, and timely goals. So we can make sure we're very clear about those as well. And we do weekly calls to help people make sure that they're on track, reverse engineer it. And it's a fun process, but it's a lot of work on both the coaches and both the students' side, because as a coach, it does take a lot of mental energy and emotional energy sometimes because you're always thinking about that student or the person, the coachee who you can help and little things here and there that can help them accomplish their goals and their tasks better and more effectively. And so the coachee will come in and the other type of person that comes to us is people that have created successful businesses, but just have challenges balancing their life out. And so that's essential. I know you talk about that a lot as well, Tan, is the importance of having balance in your life so you can be more productive and focus on the important things when it's time to focus on those. And yeah, that's the gist of it, really.
Yeah, I think balance is one of those tricky things because I think having boundaries is really important. For me personally, having a boundary between when I'm working and when I'm not working is important so that I can really disconnect and really just recover and rejuvenate so that, as weird as it sounds, even though I have, a business and yes, I could work 80 hours a week and whatnot, I actually try to stick to 36 hours a week as much as I can on a typical Monday through Friday schedule, and then have Saturday and Sunday for myself off, and then get back on the train on Monday. So I kind of follow like a regular work hour week for myself, but I find that to be the most structured and most rigorous way of me keeping myself in check, because when I have that environment in place, not just like physically, but also like invisible way, like having that structure in place, I find that is most effective for me to kind of like keep myself focused. But how do you do that then? If you're like traveling all the time, you're in different places and countries, your environment always changes. So how do you kind of like keep yourself accountable and productive?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Can I ask you a question before I answer that?
Yeah.
Because there's something that came up. I think it would be good for the podcast. Do you find sometimes when you have cutoffs and deadlines and you work 36 hours a week, but you're focused, that you get more stuff done than you would on a regular 80-hour week or 60-hour week when you're doing a bunch of miscellaneous things?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
I find that if I force myself to get certain things done in a smaller time frame, then oftentimes I will get it done faster, more efficiently, and I cut out so much, miscellaneous tasks or BS stuff that I normally would never do anyway, but I'm trying to fill up the time or something. And so,
Me too. Yeah, I find like if I give myself hard stops, especially in the afternoon and evening time, I don't know, I just feel like I get much more done and I'm not as stressed, not as strenuous, and even compared to a 60-hour week, a regular 40-hour week. So yeah, thanks for answering. Okay, while traveling and staying productive. Okay, so this is a challenging thing and it comes up for a lot of people. The pull is that, well, the challenge in it is that when you land in a new city or a new country, the first instinctual thing that we'll do is want to go see all the sights and the sounds and go to the new restaurants and go on the new tours and all that, which is, understandable. Because most people, when they travel, are kind of in vacation mode. Even if you're on business, sometimes like you want to stay focused on business, but it can be a challenge as well because you want to kind of see the new town. So if you're a long-term traveler like myself, the luxury there is that you have time, which is beneficial. So I usually don't go to a place. Very rarely do I go to a place less than a month, unless it's for a conference or something like that. Mostly 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 months or 6 sometimes. And so my main goals, so I have quarterly goals that I set, like a mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual goal. And then every week I plan out those goals and those targets and make sure I have my priorities that are in alignment with those quarterly goals. And then every evening I write down what are my 3 most important tasks. And I do that I use a passion planner. And it's all like a mix between a journal and a planner. And so when I land in a new country or new city, my main priority are 2 things. One, find accommodations if I hadn't found it yet, preferably find it before I arrive. And 2, make sure there's good internet. So I can continue the progress and productivity with those goals as soon as possible with as little friction as possible. So ideally, like here's an example that I've done this route quite often for the past few years, going from Brazil to Europe, having the accommodation set up when I arrive in Europe, knowing that preferably with like a screenshot or a picture that the landlord has sent us that the Wi-Fi is working really well, like it's very strong Wi-Fi. And so as soon as I get on at the new location, go to the new apartment or the new house, get set up, settle in real quick, and then get back to work. And then in the evenings and the weekends, go enjoy the sights and the sounds and the city and the tours and all that. And so as long as I keep that, like that's my foundation amongst long-term travel, because it's so easy to get sucked into, do I go see this? And then I'm taking time away from my work. Now I'm behind on work. Now I have 1,000 emails. Now I've got all this stuff backed up and now I'm overly stressed out. And so this is a good way to kind of keep that balance, minimize that stress, because traveling anyway is stressful, right? Going through the airports and packing your bags and planning on what to take and what not to take. And so if you can reduce as much friction as possible, so then when you land in a place, you're ready to go, you're ready to work, you feel kind of in the same type of environment as before. You have a few things, like I always have a yoga ball that I travel with, so that's a familiar part of setting up my new office. And in setting things in similar locations, like my planner's always over to the right, my notepads are always over next to the planner, phone is out of the room, and my halo light is over here on the left side. So even though I'm in a new office working, it still kind of feels, in a new country also, it still kind of feels familiar. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I love the internet example. That's something that I do as well. If I plan to stay somewhere for more than 4 or 5 days, which is typically an Airbnb, I kind of have like a guideline for my assistant where she knows that if I stay somewhere for 3 days or less, it's always a hotel. If it's longer than that, it's always an Airbnb. But for the Airbnb, there has to be a screenshot of an internet speed so that I know that it's pretty good. So I'm sure you had an experience where you then settled into an Airbnb and you went, what the hell? The internet does not work, or it's so slow. I can't work here.
Yeah, exactly. And then always having, the ability to hotspot your phone with your computer if need be, if the internet goes out in whatever country you're at or wherever you're traveling through. So yeah, that's a good little hack as well.
If you're a business owner or a manager, chances are you are reevaluating the way you do business. In fact, I just got back from a few days away where I did exactly that. I did some intense thinking time on Asian efficiency and the productivity show and some new online projects that we want to do. Pivoting quickly is hard enough, but finding the people to make it happen can feel like a full-time job. Fiverr's freelancing platform helps you find the right talent to build your online presence fast. As an example, we are designing some t-shirts for a new project, and we have a designer we usually work with. He did an awesome job, but Brooks decided we wanted to have options, so he posted the job on Fiverr too. We received back a great design extremely quickly, and the designer was open and responsive to feedback. It was so easy to find a freelancer, post a job, and the design was returned in just a day or two. It was a totally great experience. You can hire freelancers with proven track records and clear pricing, so you're never in the dark. Fiverr has quality talent you can count on. Sellers have worked with influential brands like Google, Netflix, MIT, and PayPal. You can review sellers' ratings, see buyers' feedback, and more to select the right freelancer based on your budget. Find your talent today at Fiverr.com and receive 10% off your first order using code TPS. All digital services you need are in one place at Fiverr.com, code TPS. Again, that's Fiverr.com, code TPS. Do you still use one of the big wireless providers? If so, what are you paying for? I'll tell you what. You're paying for expensive retail stores, inflated prices, and hidden fees. You're being taken advantage of because they know you'll pay. Enter Mint Mobile. Mint Mobile provides the same premium network coverage you're used to, but at the fraction of the cost because everything is online. Mint Mobile saves on retail locations and overhead and then passes those savings directly to you. Mint Mobile makes it easy to cut your wireless bill down to just $15 a month. 15! Every plan comes with unlimited nationwide talk and text. And if you want, you can use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and keep your same number along with all your existing contacts. I really believe that Mint Mobile's model is the future. All online and exactly what you need at a low price. For me, activation was super easy, and I've had great coverage wherever I go here in Austin and in other places I've tried it out in. To get your new wireless plans for just $15 a month and get the phone shipped to your door for free, go to mintmobile.com/TPS. That's mintmobile.com/TPS. Cut your wireless bill to just $15 a month at mintmobile.com/TPS. We've heard for years that it's important to have a diversified portfolio: stocks, bonds, mutual funds, that kind of thing. But if you've ever looked at a breakdown of the most successful portfolios, you'll typically see a diversified set of real estate. So why isn't it one of the first asset classes you consider when you're looking to diversify? Simple. It hasn't been available to investors like you and me until now, thanks to Fundrise. Fundrise makes it easy for all investors, not just accredited ones, to diversify by building you a portfolio of institutional quality real estate investments. We're not talking about that sketchy rundown shack at the end of the street here. So whether you're just starting to invest in real estate or looking to add more, our friends at Fundrise have you covered. Here's how. Fundrise is an investing platform that makes investing in high quality, high potential real estate as easy as investing in your favorite stock or mutual fund. Whether you're looking to add stable cash flows from dividends or prefer long-term growth through appreciation, Fundrise can help with both. To date, Fundrise manages more than $1 billion in assets for over 130,000 investors. And since 2014, the Fundrise platform has averaged 8.7 to 12.4% annual returns, and investors have earned more than $79 million in dividends alone. One thing I find cool about Fundrise is that it's not a black box. You're not investing in some mysterious collection of properties. You can actually look at the properties you're investing in, get information about them, and even see updates when things change. Start building your better portfolio today. Get started at fundrise.com/TPS to have your first 90 days of advisory fees waived. That's fundrise.com/TPS to have your first 90 days of advisory fees waived. Fundrise.com/TPS. Now, as an efficiency nerd myself, one of the things that I kind of grapple with when I do long-term travel like you do is that I like to work out. I like to eat at familiar places. I like familiarity. And sometimes I also crave novelty, which I think is what travel really allows for. But how do you then stick to workouts? How do you stick to going to bed on time? How do you stick to like certain rituals or routines that you have that you, I guess, since you don't have a home base, you don't really miss certain things, right? But
sometimes, yeah. Yeah. No, that's a good question as well. So I like to allow for flexibility, but also some sort of familiarity as well. So as soon as I land in a new place, like I'll probably be keeping the same workout times. Right now I'm doing workouts in the afternoons just because afternoons are slow and boring and we're all locked up anyway right now. So workouts in the afternoons have served me well. And it's a good time to get out of the house, get some fresh air and go for a jog or whatever it may be. I also like to do workouts that are familiar. So as well as, going for a jog, which I really enjoy, maybe some burpees, maybe whatever goal I have for my physical goal, if it's yoga. So it's keeping that familiar goal while doing it in a new location. So for workouts, that's key. But also at the same time, you also find new things that you may want to add to that. So if you realize that going on a walk on the beach in Barcelona is just like the most amazing thing in the world, or jogging on the beach in the morning time, I'm keeping flexible to add those as well because you never know what you're going to find. I landed in Bulgaria a year ago, April. And, usually just kind of keeping my regular routine, going for a run, doing some burpees. And then I realized that there's some guys there that mountain bike every morning at 8 a.m. And I wasn't going to miss out on the opportunity with these. They're not local guys, they're entrepreneurial guys, but people that knew the town really well, to do some downhill mountain biking every morning. Like it was just, too epic not to do. So I decided, well, okay, that's going to be my workout instead of my regular routine. So allowing that flexibility. And then also so I'm a guy that likes everything in my close radius. So just similar to you, like finding the familiar things in a foreign area. So finding my health food restaurants, finding the health food grocery store. If you go to a gym, finding the gym, finding the things in your area and within walking distance, preferably, or a short Uber ride or something like that, where the friction is decreased and the amount of value in your life is increased. So I like to go to restaurants or markets that have really good either local food or organic food, and I can pick up a bunch of that. So knowing where that is even before I land is really key. Knowing where the gym is, if I'm using a gym at that time, possibly even signing up for a membership before I land, which is helpful as well. Knowing where those local markets are, but also knowing where the restaurants are that you may like. So if you like Vietnamese food, if you like Mexican food, if you want to try the best restaurants in the new country, finding out where those are, where you land are key too. So you have it's finding the familiar things in a foreign environment. And if you could do that, which takes a bit of time to really learn, you can make your life much more pleasurable, but your productivity can stay on point to where, you're just losing the day or two of travel, but you're staying really on top of things when it comes to work.
So Chris, I have a interesting and personal question almost. So if you don't want to answer it, you don't have to, but as somebody who is, I believe you don't have any kids, correct?
No.
You're single?
Single, right? Yes. Recently.
Okay, recently. So with, you being just you, obviously having no dependents, it makes it a little easier to be able to travel and pack up and go to other places when, people who might be listening have a family or have kids might be a little bit more challenged when it comes to that. But I think a lot of the things that you speak to, apply to anyone. So whether you are a family, you have kids and you want to travel for a little bit, you can do that as well. I know one of my clients does that. He has a beautiful wife and 2 kids, and every few months they go away for, a month or so to a different place, and they work remote, right? And work from there, and they can kind of do the same thing. It's just in a different place. So just because, you don't have any kids or just by yourself doesn't mean that what you say or what you teach doesn't apply to others.
Yeah, for sure. And I actually just got out of a 4-year relationship. So I was traveling with a partner for 4 years. And finding the things that would not add friction to the relationship while we traveled was also key. Making sure we could still do date night, making sure that we kept that in our routine, making sure we still had constructive conversation and we did simple things like going to walk in the evening and we weren't torn between running our businesses and keeping a relationship as a priority over, just working and just touring a new country or the new city we're in. So, I haven't tried it out with kids yet, but there's still a lot of people, more and more people are starting to do that on a regular basis for sure.
So what does a typical day look like for Chris then? You kind of mentioned exercise every now and then. Do you have a structure that you kind of follow, or you kind of go with the flow? Or how does your typical day or work week look like?
Absolutely. So my personality, I need structure and a little go with the flow every day and every week, without a doubt. And so I need 3 things to make most every day great. And those 3 things are meditation, exercise, and planning. So my brain, the way it works, it needs planning every day, or it'll just go a little ADD, squirrel here, shiny object there, and just go down tangents, and I won't be structured. So I need the planning. I need meditation to help me solve business problems, work out ideas, think about the bigger vision of the business, of my life, where I want to go, and also just calm my mind and relax a bit. So that's essential. Meditation is like, exercise for the brain. I think it's very important for most everybody. And then exercise as well, of course, because, as a high performing individual and high performers, we need to balance our physical activity with the amount of mental activity and emotional activity that we're using and focus that we're using in our building these businesses. So whatever exercise works for you. For me, I need more intense exercise like a hard run, a bike ride, some jujitsu. We actually have ice baths here in our house in Austin. So that's beneficial as well. And something to like release tension. And I think that's huge. So I have meditation, exercise, and planning. I usually get up pretty early every day in between 5:30 and 6:30, depending on the day. I meditate for an hour every day, and then I'll do a little bit of yoga, and then I'll hop in and start my workday. That's usually due, in between 7:30 to noon. I'll just work pretty much straight with maybe one break in between. And that's the deep focused work time where I'm working on bigger projects or things that are essential to the business. I keep my phone off. I turn my phone off an hour before bed, and I use that as decompression time. And also like to step outside and look at the stars or just feel the nature or walk in the grass a little bit. And then my phone doesn't come on until about noon. And usually at lunch, then I'll turn it on, and I don't even turn it on to check messages. I turn it on to, as I'm eating lunch, watch a little YouTube videos, like some comedy videos or something that kind of keeps my mind off work. And then in the afternoon, sometime I'll get around to checking messages, the WhatsApp messages and Facebook messages, catch up on those if I need. And then also check email as well. I usually keep the tasky work like email or, doing miscellaneous things on the websites or just managing things for the afternoon time. Workout in the later afternoon, in between 3 to 5. It's not a set time every day. It just kind of depends. I have a workout buddy here, so it depends on both of our schedules. Eat dinner about in between 6 to 7. Lunch is my first meal of the day. I have green tea in the morning. I know you like green tea as well. And I love my matcha green tea in the morning. And then in an evening time, in between 6 and 8, I usually eat dinner, work for another hour to 2 hours in the evening usually, and then do a little reading or maybe some Netflix, and then off to bed, giving myself about a minimum of half an hour of no blue light before I fall asleep. So that's that. That's a lot of details.
No, I appreciate that. I love the detail and the eye for like specific stuff because, for example, not having any blue lights half an hour before bed, I think is super helpful for improving your sleep as an example, right?
Yeah.
And we both know how important sleep is for feeling good, and being productive the next day. And you can take that to, different levels of, turning off your TV. I know some people are even experimenting. I even thought about this. I don't know if I would go that far because of the annoyance, but even turning off your Wi-Fi and stuff like that. Like you can go to extremes.
Oh, yeah.
How you want to optimize your sleep. But do you do anything on the weekends then? Do you kind of follow a Monday through Friday kind of schedule too? Or like, how do you balance work and life?
Yeah, that's my Monday through Friday schedule. And Saturdays are usually social days. So I leave those up to make plans with friends, whatever comes up. I keep that mainly for social. And then Sunday is my no plan day. So I mentioned before, I need a bit of flexibility with my daily and weekly schedule just to kind of feel like I'm free, that I'm not structured all the time. Sunday is no plan day. Maybe if I want to sleep in, I'll sleep in. If somebody invites me to go to the park or go do something, maybe I'll do that. But it's generally no like set plans on Sunday. I keep that just a free flowing day. And that keeps a really good balance for me. And I even don't, I have daily goals to exercise and meditate. And then usually on the weekends, there's no goals whatsoever. It's just, if I feel like exercising, I exercise. If I feel like making my bed, I'll make my bed. If I feel like meditating, I'll meditate. And yeah, so that works out really well for me. And I've seen it work for other people too, because it's about balance. We don't want to burn ourselves out. I've burnt myself out in businesses before, and I don't want to see anybody do that anymore because it's not fun. And you could lose a really good business. You can lose relationships. You lose your own sanity, because it'll drive you crazy, lose money. So the balance is essential.
So Chris, what does your personal productivity system kind of look like? Do you have specific apps and tools you like to use? You mentioned earlier, you like a passion planner. Are there any other things you like to use, or what makes your personal productivity system so cool?
Well, for me personally, so it's different for me and then the people that we coach as well. For me, I think it's like 12 years of figuring this stuff out. And then optimizing it as best as possible, but also having the flexibility to change as well. I think it's key that anybody find the core rocks, like I mentioned, mine's meditation, exercise, and planning, that can really give the majority of their days the boost to know that they're going to have a good day. Some people that may be journaling, some people that may be swimming, some people that may be incantations or something like that, affirmations. So yeah, and that's what we work with the people we coach as well. I think one thing that is worth mentioning, Tam, is that I pay attention to that our daily dose of happy neurochemicals. Have you heard of those before?
Mm-mm.
No. So, okay. So we call it the daily dose because it refers to dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins. And I don't know if you've dove down this rabbit hole before, but these neurochemicals really help us to live a happy life. So when our lives are balanced and we're happy, we're getting like the right amount of these neurochemicals. Now, when our lives are out of balance and we're feeling more stress and more tension, generally we're probably lacking some of those neurochemicals and adding more cortisol to our body and tension to our muscles, right? And so if we understand that, so I'll give you a good example, like the appropriate amounts of dopamine that we need, not too much, but just the appropriate amounts of oxytocin that we need, serotonin and endorphins, it can really help us be more productive, be more focused, and it helps our brain functioning as well. So the other morning I woke up, so low serotonin levels are related to depression and loneliness. And most medicine out there that is created to help people that are depressed is created to boost serotonin levels. So the other morning when I woke up, it was Sunday morning, and it was Saturday night, and the roommates here, we were all hanging out, and I had a couple drinks, alcoholic drinks, and I went to bed with some of the alcohol still in my system. And that, I'm sure you know, affects our sleep. So if you go, like, for example, if you go to bed with one drink in your system, that's equal to losing 90 minutes of sleep, more or less. And also the next morning, you'll crave somewhere between 800 more calories. And so I woke up and I was cranky and I was feeling lonely and a little depressed. And so I did this meditation and I thought about it, and I thought to myself, am I really depressed, or maybe my serotonin levels low? And I thought, well, this past week it had rained a lot, so my vitamin D levels could be low because I hadn't been going outside and getting sunshine. So those could be low, which could be helping or assisting my low serotonin levels, which could be assisting the feeling of depression. And just that thought alone made me feel more inspired and hopeful that I wasn't really depressed, or I wasn't really lonely in that morning, in that moment. And then I thought to myself again, I was like, well, we have 60,000 thoughts a day. We know all of them are not true. Some of them can be affected by different neurochemicals in our body, different situations that happen, lacking supplements, lacking vitamins and nutrients, the type of food that we're eating. And so I thought to myself, well, maybe because I had those alcoholic drinks and popcorn, an hour before bed or an hour and a half before bed, this is all affecting my feeling of loneliness right now. And I'm not really lonely. I'm not feeling slight depression. I'm just lacking those things. And it just made me feel really good that it wasn't about me. It was just, okay, maybe I'm just low in serotonin. That's it. So I thought, okay, now I need to get some sunshine today and take my vitamin D to make sure that I don't feel this anymore, and get some exercise to cure my little hangovers, very little hangover. So yeah.
I love that. And kind of reminds me that when we know what's going on in our bodies and in our brain, that we have more power to choose how we, address that and handle that. And going back to your alcohol example, I know, for example, for me, if I have any drink whatsoever, even just like two little sips, my sleep won't be as good as it could be. And
yeah,
I've been wearing this Aura ring for about a year now, and I kind of use that to keep track of my sleep and like overall like heart rate variability and that kind of stuff. So I kind of know what's going on in my body now, and I can kind of like, even though I've done some experiments meticulously, I also know from just experience looking at it, I can see that, okay, if I just have any sip after a certain time, my sleep is not that great. But if I have a glass of wine at like 5 o'clock and just one glass and I go to bed around 10, I'm usually okay. And one thing I've learned from others is, this is just kind of like you said, this whole dose thing, you can go that rabbit hole really deep. And so anybody that's listening, like, you can spend years studying this stuff, but based on my own personal research and talking to different people, one thing I've discovered, and you might find this helpful too, is for every glass of alcohol, I take a capsule of glutathione, because glutathione is a liver detoxer. And so anybody who has ever done like an IV drip to kind of like get over your hangover, right? Or maybe you've partied a little too much, they put glutathione in your IV drip so that it helps you detox faster, so you feel better, right? So if I have a few glasses of wine, or I go out and I still want to optimize my sleep a little bit or minimize the damage, so to speak, I always think, okay, how many glasses of drinks did I have? Oh, 3. Okay, I need to take 3 capsules of glutathione before I go to bed. Or if I know I'm going out, I'll take like 1 or 2 before I go out, and then maybe 1 more before I go to bed. And then I've noticed like it really minimizes the lack of sleep. But I hear you. Yeah, any lack of sleep is always it kind of hurts you the next day a little bit.
It does. It does. Especially the older you get. Like, it definitely, optimizing our sleep is very, very key. Yeah. One of the reasons why I don't drink often at all, because it really affects our bodies and our sleep cycles and how we feel the next day and how we treat people the next day and in our moods. And so, yeah, I agree with you.
Have you ever tracked your mood or anything like that, or what you do with the daily dose, like in terms of like tracking stuff?
No, believe it or not, I'm not a highly analytical guy. And so tracking kind of drives me a bit nuts, other than just taking like mental notes of it. So I understand this part of me. I'm more of a creator than I am an analyzer. And so I have the system set up for me to analyze, but also allow the flow of creativity. So for example, I started on a new tracking system playing. Have you ever heard of the Hell Yeah game? Hell Yeah or No?
No.
So it's basically like, if you make a decision or any activity you do or anything you commit to, it needs to be a hell yeah, or the answer is a no. Like a 10 out of 10, or maybe a 9 to 10 out of 10. Everything from an 8 below is the no. And so I started tracking it, and it was just like my mind was going crazy. Like, I couldn't do it. It would just add more tension to my body. So I do just like little mental notes and just take record of it, but no formal tracking. I also had my brain scanned recently, and during the scan, they said that the doctor said specifically, he said, when you do your taxes, I guarantee, or punch numbers or analyze things, your brain just lights up like a Christmas tree, because it's not regular operating mode. It's not like the superpower of my brain. And so it makes a lot of sense. So long story short, no, I don't do much tracking other than just taking mental notes.
Wait, I got to hear more about this brain scan thing. This sounds really interesting. What is this? How did you do this?
Yeah. So I bought a brain scanner, and it's a high-end brain scanner. They do EEG and P300 readings, and it takes basically a scan or a map of the voltage and the blood flow in your brain. It also shows where different areas of how your brain's connected, like right brain to left brain, if the front of the brain is more active than the rear part of the brain. So you take a couple tests, 2 or 3 tests during this. They're called performance tests. And it's just on a computer while you have headphones that look kind of like this on. And then there's a little thing connected to the back. And you put a brain scanner looking thing on top of your head. Basically does the same thing as a hospital, like a CAT scan or a EEG reading that you would get at a doctor's office if you were having brain problems, problems with your brain. So yeah, it's great, because then you get a reading and it shows like which areas of your brain are working really well, which areas of your brain aren't working so well. And literally you can have you could have bumped your head in soccer when you were 12 years old, and it can affect the voltage and the blood flow in your brain all the way up into your adult life. These scanners can show signs of brain damage, brain illnesses, Alzheimer's decades ahead of time, before they even start to show signs. And so it's kind of like getting a blood scan of your brain, and then realizing that you need to add more supplements, you need to do different types of work, you need to do different brain exercises to really optimize it. So for example, the frontal lobes are the frontal area of our brains. They're like the CEO or the manager of our brains, right? So they help us control impulsive decisions, and those don't even fully develop until men are about 27 years old. Women are around 25 years old, right? And so for me, when I got this brain scan, I realized, this is what the doctor said, that my frontal areas of my brains, my frontal lobes are full on. They're 115%. Rubber hits the road. That's why I have an event called Get Shit Done Live, and into the productivity thing. When I'm focused, when I'm on a thing, I'm getting it done, and I'm going to accomplish it and go after it until it's done. Now, the back area of my brain, I don't know what happened because it's not at 110, 100%, not even 100%. It's like sitting at 70% for the voltage. And it's really interesting because I would venture to say that most of our brains are not operating at 100% because of, maybe getting hit in the head, maybe just whatever trauma when you were a child, who knows? There's many different reasons. But I think within the next probably decade or two, it'll be essential. Just like we get a yearly physical and a dentist checkup, we'll need to get a yearly blood test, if not more than once a year, and also brain scans, because the brains are the motors of our bodies. They're the motors of our life. If you had a high-performing car, like a Formula One race car, there's no way you wouldn't pop the hood open and check it on a regular basis, right? You need to make sure everything in that engine is operating at 100% all the time, or everything else is affected. And we don't do that with our brains. We actually recently just came across the technology to really do that, especially on a smaller level. So that's the point of the brain scanner. It's fascinating because even like a guy that has a business that travels the world that is into high performance does not have a fully operating brain. And it's kind of like, well, okay, if I'm not having it, there's quite a few people out there that are probably having this challenge too. And it's nothing to be ashamed of at all. It's just like, okay, let's take a reading. Your brain's a muscle. Let's figure out how we can make it stronger and optimize it to the best of its ability.
I really love that, and something I have not really explored. So that's something really interesting to me. Is there a particular brand or device that you recommend or like to use?
Yeah, the one that I have is with the Wavi brain scanner. So I went and I got my brain scanned by the Wavi team, and I thought, oh, I'm going to have this so I can scan my clients and scan all my friends. So I went and bought it. And so if you want a brain scan, Tam, we can set it up. And we've got a medical professional that we have a partnership with where he's been studying brains for 15 years, and he gives the readings and can give any medical advice for anybody that needs medicine or supplements or any details on how to make their brain better.
Cool. Well, we will make an offline appointment for that once this whole thing is over. Thanks. Well, Chris, I really enjoyed our interview today and our talk. If people want to find out more about you, your podcast, coaching, everything else you have going on, where should they go?
Yeah, the best place is thebusinessmethod.com. You can find everything there, short and simple and sweet.
Yeah, you have a podcast with a similar name as well. So definitely go check that out as well if you haven't checked that out. And thanks again, Chris, for your time today, for all the insights and wisdom. I really appreciate it. And I know a lot of people are going to love this stuff.
Tan, it's been so good to be here, man. I really appreciate it. And I'm honored to be on the show. So thank you for having me.
Do you wish there were more hours in a day? Are you behind on your to-do list? If you want to be more productive and get proven tools to help you save time, then you must check out our new productivity assessment. Within 2 minutes of taking this free assessment, the tool will generate a personal recommendation list of which apps, tools, and strategies that will work for you based on your life situation. To take the assessment, just go to theproductivityshow.com/quiz. Again, that URL is theproductivityshow.com/quiz. Take their free assessment today and you'll be on your way to becoming superhuman productive. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next Productive Monday.